Hi, I'm Matt Robeson with a moreperfectunionforum.com, and today we're going to quickly run through what some recent data tells us about what's shaping up to be a classic message battle between the parties in 2020. This week, Republicans called their play for next year's election, and it's the tried and true classic attack Democrats as socialists. Democrats are trying to figure out the best way to fight back. Now, painting Democrats as socialists goes back decades. You might say it's really the hammer in the Republican message toolkit. And in the last few years, Republicans have found some great poster children. First, with the rise of Bernie Sanders in 2016, and last year with Alexandria Ocasio Cortez. But what do we know about how effective this attack, this framing, really is? Let's take a look at some recent evidence. We have new polling out this week on behalf of American Action Network. They're a relatively center-right Republican think tank. Think of them as a mainstream Republican group, sort of in the middle of the Republican spectrum. We also have good research this past spring to look at from Global Strategy Group, which is a highly regarded middle-of-the-road polling firm on the Dem side. Let's look first at the Republican polling. American Action Network presents some pretty compelling numbers showing that with relatively neutral wording, ideas like Medicare for All are underwater with voters. These aren't slam dunk numbers, but they definitely tilt Republican. And the poll goes on to show that attaching the socialist label to all of the policies they test drags responses about 10 points further in the Republican direction. And interestingly, you can see that the movement here isn't so much among people who lean Republican. That makes sense. They're already against ideas like Medicare for All and the Green New Deal. What you see is that Democrats get turned off by attaching the idea of socialism. Now let's look at the Democratic polling. Global Strategy Group shows that there are some pretty good defenses for the socialism attack. The argument that Democratic policies help the middle class, while Republicans just want to give tax breaks to the rich, beats the counterargument that Democrats are embracing socialism. And those two arguments are tied among the key critical swing group for 2020, non-college educated white voters. Now, these aren't exactly slam dunk numbers here either, but the data here is showing that Democrats can at least neutralize the Republican attack with this messaging. So when you put it all together, what takeaways do we get? I think there are three big ones. First, the Republican poll looks an awful lot like Republicans, especially congressional Republicans, kind of talking to themselves. 6 House Republicans have announced their retirements recently, and if you look at where the Electoral College would be based on Donald Trump's state-by-state approval rating today, it looks like a slog for House Republicans who are already in the minority. And there's a clue to that theory when you look at the design of the Republican poll. What's a little unusual is that it was conducted in 3 types of congressional districts, including ones President Trump won handily in 2016. So it seems like what the Republican poll is doing is sort of bucking up the troops, reminding Republicans that they have effective attacks on Democrats, both for firing up the base and in swing districts. And they don't need to just rely on riding President Trump's rather frayed coattails. Takeaway number 2 is the socialism attack kind of works, and it kind of doesn't. Voters are pretty split on whether Democrats are moving too far towards socialism or if it's just Republicans crying wolf. A thin margin of independents does seem worried about a drift towards socialism, but independents agree almost 2-to-1 with the crying wolf argument. Voters have a strong negative reaction to a proposal like universal basic income, but have a 3-to-1 positive reaction to raising taxes on the wealthy, including majority support among independents. Takeaway number 3 is it's very likely that this messaging issue is where the 2020 battle will play out, especially in the fight for Congress. But neither party has a silver bullet here. For Republicans, the upshot of the new polling is that the socialism attack seems mildly effective, and it's probably the best approach they've got. For Democrats, the fact that you have effective defense that can fight this to a draw is a little reassuring. But just because you have seatbelts and airbags, you don't want to start drag racing your car either. The numbers suggest that Democrats should be cautious about leaning too hard into the socialism attack with the most aggressively liberal and easy to caricature proposals. They have effective arguments to make about helping the middle class, providing affordable health care, and creating green jobs that don't require an all-in move to the left. Thanks again for watching, and be sure to check out the website at a moreperfectunionforum.com and to follow us on Facebook and Twitter.